And some big news on the screens. Shareholders have approved the Cairn India Vedanta merger. That's what we're getting in just now. Should try and get some more details.
Big stuff. I mean, there's been so much toing and froing on it, with minority shareholders probably not playing ball. But now it looks like the minority shareholders have been convinced. This is a big development. It's a deal that's been happening for years now, and the minority shareholder, basically LIC, I think, has gotten convinced. Of course, Cairn PLC had to be convinced first, and then the minority shareholders. And it looks like now that big deal is over, which will be very positive for Vedanta, because that's the guy who needed the money, and Cairn is the guy who has the money. The person who broke the story for us is now joining us in a minute. Kritika, are you ready?
Yes, Latha, this is a big day. Now, remember, the EGM was specifically for Vedanta, and that was really where the challenge was, since LIC as well as Cairn PLC were the two players that were against the deal. And after that, the contours of the deal were revised. The premium that the shareholders would get were revised. LIC and Cairn PLC have had closed-door meetings, have been discussing this even prior to the EGM, and now the approval has come in. Now, what is left? If Vedanta Resources' EGM has cleared this, and if the shareholders have approved this, then it's just a matter of time till Cairn does that. Cairn PLC EGM is also expected on the 8th. And, you know, this is something that we had reported earlier as well, that they have gotten a tentative nod. Remember, LIC holds about 9% stake, and Cairn PLC, which is the global company, also holds about 5 to 6% stake. So their approval is very, very crucial across Vedanta and Cairn. And now that Vedanta's shareholders have approved, what's left is 8 September, Cairn India's shareholders are approving, and then the final court orders coming in, and then the deal is pretty much done. So this is, of course, a big deal in the making, and we'll try to touch across and get you the management reactions as well. But this is something that you know, Anil Agarwal had alluded to, Latha. In fact, in our interview earlier on the day when the deal was sweetened, he had said that by the end of the year, he was expecting the deal to be completed. He was sweetened deal, considering the fact that the deal had been sweetened specifically after multiple discussions with shareholders. So this was something that he had alluded to, and he was very confident that it will go through. It's perhaps just a matter of formality now. By December 2016, if things pan exactly on schedule, we should see a merged entity.
Okay, well, if Cairn itself is agreed, then it looks unlikely that there will be any problem from the Cairn EGM, as well as the court orders, because there isn't, I think, any competition issue involved at this point. But you must pull up 1 year of the Vedanta chart. The Vedanta stock has been rising anyways because of the global recovery in metal prices and commodities in general. So a 1 year chart of Vedanta will show you that, in addition, the fact that it will get a little more money having this Cairn kitty with it has only lent wings to the stock. It was 70 rupees in February, at several points in February actually, and now 174. So that's a measure of the 130% rally that stock has seen.
Absolutely. But you know, there are a lot of areas that shareholders were concerned about, and which included Cairn's legal issues. There were about 3 to 4 litigations that Cairn was dealing with, and you know, Latha, it could be possible that there was some kind of confidence given to the shareholders that Cairn's legal issues may not be as much of a hurdle, and perhaps that could have added to that. Now, you know, we are talking about how the legal issues, there were 3 specific cases which were being discussed. We were talking about how Vedanta is trying to settle it in an amicable way. The tax case, in fact, Anil Agarwal was on the channel who was saying that he's trying to settle this with the government amicably in some form or the other. So at least the legal issues that shareholders would have been concerned about shouldn't be there. That was one question that we had, that even if shareholders do give a nod, there are still litigations. Will Cairn shareholders agree? But by the looks of it, there seems to have been at least some assurance. We can't guess. We'll need to have the management on the channel. But there seemed to be at least some kind of assurance that the tax issue, it's not as much of a hurdle that it'll disrupt the merger, or it'll disrupt operations as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope. But in any case, as you point out, this is really one round of the battle clearly won, and the more difficult part of the shareholders who had to be convinced, Cairn
And a
India
year of
PLC,
negotiation,
Cairn
at least.
PLC itself.
Yeah.
So now with Cairn PLC already saying yes, or so it seems, then the chances of Cairn India having any trouble looks unlikely. The tax tangle will perhaps be something that Vedanta will carry on, and negotiations would still continue perhaps with the
You know, the larger thing now, Latha, will be that Hindustan Zinc has been turning around a corner. We've been talking about how Hindustan Zinc Balco is something that Vedanta as a group wants to leverage eventually. So now the next thing to watch out for is, okay, we actually do have JN Gupta with us. Mr. Gupta, you've been tracking the merger right from the start. You know, you're one of the first people who had raised concerns about the first contours that had been discussed. Your initial reaction, is this positive for both shareholders with the revised agreement?
No, which revised agreement you are talking? This
The Cairn and Vedanta merger deal, sir.
no, but the one which was announced about a month back with
Yes,
the
so they had revised the contours and
preference
they had
share.
sweetened the contours, and now the shareholders of Vedanta Resources have given their nod.
Okay, see, the shareholder given the nod. If you see our report, we have said that there was nothing wrong with the scheme because if you are creating a conglomerate, big conglomerate which is hedge-proof against all the commodities, there was nothing wrong. But we had raised a concern. We said that you have not come fairly to the shareholder because you have revised the ratio from one share of Vedanta in the exchange of 1 share of Cairn plus 1% shares to 4% shares. So we said this additional 3 shares, why you are giving? And if you see their audit report and everything, they had said that we are giving it for this reason, which I'll just quote what they said. They said, changing climate of Indian market and change in commodity prices. And we had analyzed very clearly that these two regions would not reach to the conclusion that 3 more shares are to be given. One, changing climate of Indian market is affecting all the companies across, so that whether if it is Vedanta is affected, similarly Cairn is affected. As for the change in commodity price, we had quoted their own analysis, and their analysis said that all other commodities of their group have fared well as compared to oil. The only negative return was in the oil. So I said, if all other commodities have given you better EBITDA in last year, so there was no reason for you to revise that thing. So then we said...
Agreed.
But Mr. Gupta, Mr. Gupta, if you just allow us to come in over here, whatever the reasons might be for revising the deal from 1 preference share to 4 preference shares in its current form, which is 1 share of Vedanta is what you get and 4 preference shares of face value 10, is this a good deal for minority shareholders?
No, as far as the Cairn shareholders are concerned, it is a good deal for them.
But why is it not a good deal for Vedanta shareholders, sir? Because, you know, the point was that it had been... See, the revised deal, in a sense, implied about 20% premium if you compare the 1-month volume of the weighted average price of Cairn. So it's a positive there. But if you look at the PLC shareholders as well, they'll be able to use the cash on Cairn.
Exactly. I thought, because they could, Vedanta could use the Cairn cash, they had to sweeten the deal for Cairn.
So that is Latha, that is precisely my point. I am saying that you should tell the shareholder that I am sweetening the deal. I am giving 3 more shares because I am getting 20,000 crore of cash from Cairn, which is going to reduce my thing. No shareholder will ever oppose. But what you are doing everything in the camouflage manner. Let us talk straight. That yes, this is what I feel. They are creating a big company. In this company, one loses, some gains. So in order for the loss of the cash to the Cairn shareholder, we are compensating them more. No problem, no big deal.
Will you expect some trouble from Cairn shareholders now at all?
I would not say not trouble will be there unless until LIC and the Cairn PLC is not on the board. Because as far as they are concerned, they are better off as compared to what they were getting about a year back. They are getting 30 rupees more or 30 rupees discounted, maybe 27, 28 rupees more. So they are fairly priced. And of course, the market price will always adjust to the merger or demerger ratio which is announced. So market price is not the barometer for the long term
But sir, now that the shareholders of Vedanta have given the approval, they have given their final nod in the EGM, what were the key selling points? And I'm assuming that LIC and KN PLC, if this has been cleared by the EGM, LIC and KN PLC would be on board now.
Yeah, hopefully.
But what do you think would be the selling factors then in that case, given the fact that the nod has now come through?
No, selling factor, they have always been saying that the selling factor that they have taken into account the concerns of the big shareholder, and they have revised the merger ratio upwards by giving 3 more shares. So that is what they have done. So now they don't have to do anything further.
So, Mr. Gupta, if we just take a step back and look at the deal in its overall entirety, I mean, the management kept insisting, Mr. Anil Agarwal kept insisting that this is not just to dip into Kane's cash. This is to create a true world-class natural resources behemoth. From the Kane shareholder standpoint, the pitch was that you get to de-risk, you get to go beyond just one commodity, that's oil, and you get to participate in a much bigger natural resources story. So now that the boards have given the approval, in all probability, if LIC also gives its blessings, this deal is going to go through. What are the lessons as far as big M&A is concerned within a conglomerate in India?
See, I'm saying this, please understand, we had in our report very clearly stated that if the Cairn is losing cash, it is also getting exposure to diversified Vedanta, including zinc, and it is shedding the single product risk. Then, in addition, it is getting exposure or it is getting share into the HZL cash, because Hindustan Zinc cash is much more consistent than Cairn cash. So that is where they are getting something. Yeah. So my point is, logically speaking, there is nothing wrong with the deal. The only thing is that you are not coming straight face to the shareholder. Tell the shareholder that this is my view. Don't go in the camouflage manner, putting it on the audit committee, saying that the economy of the country is suffering and blah, blah, blah. No, come straight.
Well, fair point, sir, but perhaps it's now quite easy to read the management or the Vedanta Group's intent. That's crystal clear now, and I guess even if they have not said it, it's written all over the place. Mr. Gupta, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much for joining us. So that's the long-awaited, coming and finally arrived deal, Vedanta-Cairn merger approved by the Vedanta board, and now, of course, it's perhaps a formality of Cairn approving it. We'll have to wait, of course, for things to be wrapped up. But we wrap up on Markets Today. Thank you very much.